I would defend my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to find a way of saying some of these things without disclosing dirty details that didn't really have a place in a memorial about him.
Right. Gotcha.
It was hard to hold all that together. And in the delivery of it, I was actually able to feel where I didn't think I would be feeling very much.
Wow.
And then add to that it was my first time leaving this town since the beginning
Pandemic
of the year.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I'm sorry about your mom.
Yeah.
And the whole point of my bringing it up is just to say you totally get to choose how to remember.
Here's Stacy.
Thank you for that, Tim.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
I know I'm a little early. Am I too early?
No, it's okay. We're all getting situated. That's fine.
I did that once. I jumped in early on something once. It was
Fine.
cool.
That's fine.
Tim.
Hello.
Michael.
Stacy knows Michael and Tim, Prahmiss.
How you doing?
Katie.
I'm good. How are you?
Well, it's not Katie.
Katie's name.
Stacy, but it's Kerry. Yeah, everyone's here. I'm not going to be able to keep the introductions up once everyone, assuming we get more people showing up.
I'm sure you will. Like I said, I'm early.
We'll see. We'll see.
Can you hear me? Because I got myself muted.
No, I can hear you because you're across the table from me.
I can hear you. I'm in another town.
Because we have both my microphones.
Hi,
and
Marcia.
Marcia's microphone on. It's going to be a mess.
Hi, Marcy. How are you?
I'm good, Marcia. How are you?
I can hear you, Michael.
I'm
you're
so
muted.
great.
Thank you.
So good to see you. I haven't seen you in months and months.
I can only stay for an hour, but I didn't want to miss this launch because
Thanks.
I already put my order in for the book. I'm so excited. I can't wait to read it.
Can't wait for you to read it too. I love the feedback. I can't wait to hear how people think, what people think of it.
Of course, of course. This is so
That's
exciting.
awesome.
Yes,
That's
yes.
awesome.
All right. Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I really am.
You
I'm
look
doing.
fabulous.
Do I?
Blue is your color.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love it. Yeah, you're wearing blue too.
I'm
and
wearing blue
purple.
too.
I love it. It's so
It's
pretty.
actually one of my paintings turned into like a silky schmata thing.
Very
I
cool.
love-
Okay, schmata thing.
If I want to sell them, I probably shouldn't call them schmatas, but you know,
No, don't call it schmata.
You are so. You
Well,
are
I
so,
might not know what that means.
probably not.
you are so good in creating designs. I love those designs. They just move. They move me. They really touch my soul. You know.
Oh, excellent. You're going to be my PR spokeswoman.
Hey, I could use another job.
It doesn't pay much. I can feed you though.
Whatever. You know, just a conversation.
That works too. That works too.
Hi, Tim. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Marcia.
Marcia.
Hi.
Here's
Hi.
Craig is coming.
And all the other people that I don't know. Hi.
How you doing?
Daisy
I'm
and
good.
Kerry and
How do you pronounce your
Prahmiss.
name?
Prahmiss. Yep.
Okay. Prahmiss. Okay.
it's
Nice to
phonetic.
Nice meeting you two. And Kerry and Katie and wow.
And Craig's here, but we don't see video.
Craig.
Yeah, I'm not on a computer with video.
I can look
Can
at
you hear
now.
me?
I can hear you. Craig
Okay,
is
great.
my fabulous, amazing editor.
Oh,
And
wow.
and even more than that, he's a really good friend and a novelist in his own right and fabulous. Craig's
Great.
great. Craig's great.
It's great. It's great.
Craig just
I love
and his wife just moved from northern Maine to Billings, Montana in the middle of the pandemic with his father
Nice.
and several pets, and Lord knows how they kept their sanity.
Oh my God.
Well, that presumes we were sane to begin with. So,
Yeah, I think you were.
What is the definition of sane? You don't have, that's rhetorical. You don't have to answer that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Me neither.
I'm excited that we have 9 people. I feel like the Brady Bunch. I hear someone named
Okay.
Karen. Karen who? I don't know.
It's like, I'm not Katie.
Karen Gibbs.
I don't know. This is kind of fun. Who's going to show up? My original plan for this, when I really first conceived of this book way back last fall, was to do like a whole multimedia event at the Lamontia Art Gallery in Northport, and hang my paintings on the walls and get a local musician to come play guitar, have Tim and Prahmiss do little performances. I'll do a reading, we'd do a signing, everybody would talk, there'd be lots of champagne and food, and I thought it'd be fun. We're still gonna do that, but Lord knows when.
Sounds like a plan.
When we can meet in groups of larger than 10, that would be ideal. So I don't know when that's gonna happen. But, it is what it is.
This is so perfect, Marcy.
Yeah, we can all sit where we're sitting. There's no commuting, no sitting in traffic.
Yeah, no, it's so perfect because it's like not missing out. At least, it's the word is getting out and you're not missing out on a presentation or a celebration.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can have many celebrations.
Yeah. We need to invent them in life, I think. Too many times we just go with the flow, and a Tuesday is a Tuesday, or a Wednesday in this case is a Wednesday. Why not have a party?
To me, every day is Sunday. It's just a fun day.
There you go. Mitchell and I opened up some Prosecco a little while ago,
I
which is
love
great
it.
on an empty stomach.
Oh, yes, it is. Oh, dear. That's funny.
We were going to open it here during the live portion, but I didn't know how to do that by the sink and have the video in the dining room, and what if it was a mess and it shot everywhere and, took up, whatever.
We'd include it all.
Yeah, it's fine. It is what it is. Whew. So I wonder who Karen is. I don't know. Interesting. It's also weird to see the background behind my husband's computer showing my living room wall. It's very peculiar. So we're gonna do, hopefully we'll have raffles today. I'm gonna raffle away some of my scarves, a few of my scarves. And I have some water bottles made up, marcybrockman.com water bottles. And I made custom bookmarks with a quote from the book that says,
Nice.
each experience we have and manage to survive shows us a new, refined, stronger version of ourselves. And then the title of the book and a runway, which I will explain the meaning of later. It's also in the book. And I'm going to give away a couple of signed copies of the book itself. And we have, where did the raffle bowl go? Where did the bowl go? My husband moved the raffle bowl.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's got all the, I can't even see it. Oh, there it is. Sorry, thank you.
I wonder what else I moved.
I got this bowl as a present from my first wedding, and I have never used it for anything. Valerie! And so now it's holding all the raffle chances.
I love it. It's beautiful.
Because it's got to be used for something. Valerie's here, and Sandra's here. I'm so excited people are coming. Welcome, welcome. So totally fun. I totally appreciate the rest of you taking your time out of your weekday to do this on an evening after work or whatever else is going on.
On lockdown, every day is the same.
Well, some people are actually going to work or working from home and still have hours. My son is still sitting here to the left of me working on his NASA internship right here at the table. So, instead of going to Maryland during a pandemic, he's doing it from here. How are you, Valerie? She's good.
Good.
Excellent.
I just finished work myself.
Oh, excellent. How is that working out? You're a building manager or something, aren't you?
Well, not building, but the facility manager of
Facility.
yeah. It's hard to work from home when you run an office.
Yeah, when there's no office there tangibly to
Right.
see. Right.
Exactly.
Is there anyone actually physically there?
4 people went in. My boss is like, it's not worth going in, and he does not want anyone who's taking mass transit to go in the office. They want to create this bubble to make
Makes
sure
sense.
everyone's coming from the city, Manhattan itself, and they don't want anybody else coming outside. So
Makes sense.
I'm stuck at home. Poor me.
Commute's great. Can't get better. Can't get better. All right, so we have a few people here. Here's Tasha. Yay! Oh, I thought she was frozen, but I think it's just a picture. Funny. We're gonna make small talk until a few people show up, and we'll see. A few more people show up. We'll see what happens. As people show up, the boxes are getting smaller. You all noticing that? It's kind of funny. There's Sam Rubenfeld. Yay! Hi, Sam.
Hey, how are you?
Sam and Kerry, do you know each other? No. No, you're both former students of mine, but probably from vastly different graduating years. Wow.
Awesome.
That's very cool. That's very
That is
cool.
very cool. Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to have some students here tonight.
Well, a lot of them were invited. Whether they show is a different story.
Okay.
Everyone's life's different. And even if you plan on coming, last minute things happen and then
It's true.
you get derailed. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
I'm technically still working, so bear with me.
That's okay. You can do what you want. We only see you from the shoulders up, so
Yeah.
it's funny. All right, so we're, I don't know if we should even begin yet. It's 7:05. We probably should. Everybody's time is at a premium. I'd like to welcome everyone for coming. We're being flexible and persistent, and we're launching my first book, Permission to Land. Today's its official birthday, July 1st, 2020. Very excited. So it goes live. No more pre-orders, and now orders are actually orders. Today, I sent it off into the universe towards Oprah. We'll see. And I sent it to Reese Witherspoon. We'll see. The answer is definitely no if I don't ask. So
Right.
Why
It's
not?
true.
Why not? So let's do a little introductions because I have a co-host, or catalyst as she likes to be called, my friend Kerry here, who is a lifelong friend since she was in my 10th grade class when I'm a high school English teacher. So she was in my 10th grade class probably about a decade ago, more or less.
Yeah.
Something like
Yeah.
that. Sorry, Kerry. Time is a relentless bastard. What are you going to do?
Yeah. It has been a decade. It's fine. It feels like a long time ago, that's for sure now. But yeah, just thank you so much for having me on here.
Thank you for coming to support me.
I'm so excited about your book and this whole new chapter in your life. And yeah, thank you everyone for being here, and thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for being here. And then we have
Of course.
Tim Stachecki-Okrah, who is like my brother from another mother. He and I met at SUNY Geneseo way back in 1986 and became friends and did a lot of things we shouldn't talk about in public that are probably embarrassing.
No, we should definitely talk about them in public.
Right, maybe not now. Tim's just
Writing a book.
the greatest soul. I just love him to death. And I couldn't imagine doing this without Kerry and without Tim. And through Tim, I met Prahmiss quite a few years ago, but don't ask me how many because I have no clue. Tim, I went to go see Tim at a poetry reading somewhere. I think the room was yellow and very hot, but I don't remember where it was.
Wasn't it that firehouse?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think so.
This firehouse was, it was not a cool place, but it was a very cool place, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. And I saw Prahmiss perform a few of her poems and I was blown away.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I
Thank
think
you.
I had started following her on Facebook and Instagram years ago, but we hadn't sort of made a connection. And then when I was conceiving of this event initially, I thought of Tim and his poetry, and I thought of Prahmiss because she's just full of promise. She's just hopeful and real and just a soul-searching sister who I just love. And I hardly know her, but love her.
Thank you. I feel I appreciate that.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So, so I'm just going to introduce Permission to Land. I have been conceiving of this book in small bits for a very long time now, and didn't quite know how to go about writing it or whether it should even be a book. I'd been writing articles or essays on Elephant Journal since 2015. And each one of them was sort of a small vignette, if you will, a little narrative unto itself that eventually fed into what is this memoir. And then I like to read memoirs anyway. So between Educated and The Education of an Idealist and Glass Castle. Hey, Randy, how are you?
I'm good.
And Michelle Obama's Belonging, and Amanda Palmer's, her memoir about asking. All of these women writing these incredible stories that were very personal to them and yet infinitely relatable to other people motivated me to actually write this. Besides the fact that I've been telling these stories, these events, these experiences that happened in my life for years in my classrooms, just because I feel like showing another person that you understand how they're feeling and what they're going through and relating it to your own experience cements our connection through our shared humanity. And I think that that's one of the reasons that my students respond to me the way they do, and the way I respond to them the way I do. Because I don't think of them as kids, although they are. At this point, they're younger than my own children, although when I started teaching, I didn't have kids, so it was weird. But I think it has helped me not only be a better teacher, but a better person, more receptive to other people. And so anyway, so all of these things combined, plus the articles on Elephant Journal and students telling me that I should write a book eventually, is what Permission to Land started out as. Backtrack to 1985 or 5 or 84 or something, a damn long time ago, when I was actually still in high school. Shortly after my parents got separated, I started writing in a journal, officially, in an organized way. I had been previously writing for years, so I've been a writer since I actually knew how to write, but in 1985, it became very organized, and I still have, in a very large Rubbermaid tub upstairs in my art studio, I still have all of the books that I've been keeping journals in over the years. And what I realized was that journal writing, expressive writing as it's called in the psychology field, is really what saved my life. It helped me figure out how to deal with extenuating circumstances that I felt no control over, that I didn't feel safe living within, and that were traumatizing me and creating a very unhealthy blueprint for my life. But through writing about it, I was able to perceive that I had some control and at least work out how I felt about things, because I wasn't given the opportunity to go into therapy when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. Anyway, so all of that became this book. And I'll explain a little bit more detail because you're all probably confused. But so it's a look back at my life, but not just from my age 52, looking back over the 50 years of my life, but me at 52 and all of the analysis and the lessons and the tools that I learned in therapy, going back and looking at my journals and then quoting myself, referencing how I actually felt at 15 or how I felt at 20 or how I felt at 27. I actually had my own words to tell me when my memory was wrong or when I was full of shit, you know, like, no, you didn't do it that way, you did it this way, you know, and it helped me take a long view backwards and see what I had, the patterns that had been created. So slightly more specifically, I grew up as an only child right here on Long Island to the daughter of an undiagnosed bipolar, a narcissist, and a drug addict. And she, I'm sure, turned to drugs, and not ever alcohol really, because she didn't like being drunk, but She turned to drugs, anything she could get her hands on, and food and bad behavior in order to try to make herself feel more comfortable in her skin, which is my analysis of the situation. Now, as a kid, though, she was just out of control. She was unpredictable. I didn't know what to expect from one day to the next. If I didn't do exactly what she wanted, she'd blow up at me, as most narcissists do. They try to control you and make you behave the way they want you to. So I grew up being a people pleaser, feeling that my only value in this world was making other people happy, solving their problems, taking 100% of my self-worth from my perception of other people's happiness of me. So I learned to sublimate my own feelings, completely distance myself from my own self, which sounds ridiculous, but was what I did, in order to make my mother happy. Because if I could predict what she wanted and do what she wanted before she asked and had the opportunity to be nasty to me and make me feel about this big and go hide in my closet and cry, then if she was happy, then I felt good about me, and therefore I deserved love and belonging and to feel safe in a home, which I never actually achieved. So when I turned to writing, instead of any of the things that I could have turned to, I mean, easily I could have turned to very destructive behavior and didn't. Lord knows why, but didn't. I started to try to behave in certain ways to give myself the sense of love or home or safety or connection that I was looking for. And then my dad left my mother and promised me, as he looked me straight in the eye, that he was leaving her and not leaving me. But then I didn't hear from him for 6 months. So he actually abandoned me. And my mom at this point, hi, Joey, another student, yay! At this point, he was just gone, doing his own thing, tending to his own life. He was paralyzed by his own needs to find another life and really wasn't that interested in being a dad. So I had a dad who was checked out in another county, living in Queens somewhere, and I had a mom who was so depressed and so mentally ill that she couldn't get out of her own way. And I was a preteen, I was a teen, just fending for myself, trying to figure out who I was and how to fill all the holes that I felt emotionally. And so I did some stuff that I went through a very overly promiscuous period, and I went through a period where I was doing smoking a lot of pot with my friends and drinking a little too much and going out with inappropriate boys and sublimating my own healthy boundaries and needs in order to make them happy, because I was a people pleaser. And I couldn't figure out for the longest time why when I gave up what I wanted and gave over all of my hopes and dreams and everything to somebody else's beliefs and somebody else's wishes, I couldn't figure out why that didn't work to make me happy. Now, as a grown-up, now after having 30 years of therapy under my belt, I realized, duh, you can't make anybody happy but yourself. The only person whose mental health, whose sanity, whose clarity, whose happiness, whose well-being that you are even responsible for or capable of dealing with is your own. But I didn't know this for a long time. So people who have gone through any of these things, or even anything that made them feel like this or behave like this, those are my people. Those are the people who the audience are the audience for this book, and anyone who likes memoirs. I did read a study a bunch of years ago. Michael and I were in Barnes & Noble in the Smith Haven Mall, just perusing the stacks, because who wants to do anything else but that on a Saturday night, right? And I picked up this book by a social scientist who did this longitudinal study with a very large number of people. And the one thing that caught my eye, I didn't buy the book, so I don't know who she was, and I regret not buying it to this day, but what she said that caught my eye was that over 70% of the people she studied or participated in her study turned out to be narcissists, preying upon other people for their own benefit without any empathy whatsoever. And it struck me at that point, like, no wonder there seem to be so many of them. No wonder there seem to be so many people like me who get sucked in and used and sucked dry by these narcissistic tendencies, by people who want to keep us in control, or keep control of us, who want to force us to be small and take up less space and not to rock their boat and not to bother them with our needs. And so we stop thinking about ourselves. It also, in light, I don't know what side of the voting booth you go on, so I'm not going to say all that much, but it does explain to me why our country right now, why our world right now is in this horrible place, with authoritarian governments and humanitarian rights being infringed left and right, no matter which groups you align yourself with, race or religion or sexual identity or political agenda or whatever, it doesn't matter. Everybody is being negatively affected by other people's selfishness and other people's lack of empathy and narcissism. And I think that that's what's ruining this country. You know, I think greed, one of the 7 deadly sins, I suppose, is really what's going to kill humanity eventually. And on a side note, I think what we're learning from the world rebounding right now, while we're all hiding in our houses, is that the earth doesn't need us. We need her. And if we don't figure out how to treat her well, we're going to be done. I think we're slowly or quickly, depending on your perspective, outliving our usefulness on this planet. Anyway, that's another agenda. So as I grew up to be a people pleaser, it completely affected the way I conducted my life in every situation, whether it was work, whether it was friends, especially in romantic relationships or sexual relationships with other people. I completely derived 100% of my happiness, my self-worth, my feeling of worthiness of love, a sense of being home, a sense of connection or belonging, 100% was derived by other people, my perception of other people's happiness with me, which is serious levels of self-deluded bullshit, if you ask me. You know, I think that we're all great. You know, we all do stupid things and we all make mistakes, but nobody gets to write my story but me. Nobody gets to tell me how to feel or how to dress or how to act or how to vote or how to love or how to take care of people or myself than me. I'm in control. And I wasn't in control until my mid-40s, scarily enough. At that point, I had, when I was 27, I had gotten married to a man who I thought loved me, but was my mother in a young man's body, basically. And I think I married him because being with him felt familiar, like I was with my mom in a way. And it sounds incestuous and creepy, but that's really psychologically what it was. I married him in order to learn how to deal with my mother, but I didn't know this until years later. Hey, Christina's here and JT's here. Yay! And so, you know, it took me 43 years to figure out the thing with my mom. It took me 12 years to figure out how to extricate myself from my bad marriage with my ex-husband. And then I found myself single for a decade, actually living the same mistakes I was living before, over and over and over again. I kept dating people who were inappropriate, narcissistic, preying upon my good nature and my empathy and my own necessity to make other people happy. And I kept, each relationship would end and I would be completely confused. Like, I don't understand what went wrong. Why was I feeling anxious? Why did I always feel the same way? How come it always turned out the same way? And it took my current therapist, who I've been seeing for 10 years now, it took her quite a long time to work with me and get me to do the deep dive I needed to do inside myself to sort of figure it out. And then my mom passed away in October of 2013. And we hadn't spoken for at least 18 months because of her drug addiction and the fact that she turned into a malignant, awful person. And in order to break the multi-generational cycle of toxicity and psychological destruction, sounds dire, but I had to protect my children and disassociate us with my mom. So I gave her an ultimatum. in the form of a letter, because she wouldn't actually ever talk to me. We tried tough love, and we tried interventions, and I tried doctors and hospitals, and she just wouldn't admit that she had a problem. And so I wrote her a letter that basically drew the line in the sand. Either you allow me to help you get inpatient drug rehab therapy, I will be with you every single step of the way, hold your hand every single day for the rest of your life, and get you clean so that you learn behaviors to take care of yourself, or you will never see us again, my kid, myself, or your only biological grandchildren. And it was the hardest letter I had to write, ever had to write. And her response was basically, F you. You know nothing. You're a piece of crap. I like what I'm doing. You don't know what you're doing. Go screw off, which was fun. It was the hardest thing that ever happened to me at that point, but really forced me into do a lot of soul searching and a lot of pattern recognition, trying to figure out what I had been doing wrong all of these years, or what I had been doing that wasn't getting me where I wanted to be. It wasn't allowing me to feel how I wanted to feel. It was keeping me from being the best mom I could for my kids. It was keeping them from feeling safe. And I knew how it felt to grow up on feeling unsafe and unsure and living with unpredictability. And I didn't want that for them. And so what I couldn't do for myself, I did for them. And I disassociated myself with my mom. And then I got involved with some other men, despite the fact that I thought I had learned my lesson. I got involved with some other guys who were exactly my mom again. These blood-sucking vampire narcissists who saw me as easy prey. And how Tim and Kerry didn't slap me over the head with something big and heavy is beyond me. Not that I'm blaming you. I don't mean it to come out that way, because it's totally all my fault. But I think you both in your own way tried to get me to see what I was unwilling to see. And then...
Well, to your credit, when your choices are all alike, choosing among them isn't all that important.
True.
And I think you probably found some of the best narcissists you could.
And it was fun, don't get me wrong. I mean, I had a good time while I was getting my heart trashed, you know. But ultimately, and you'll read about it in the book, my therapist called this part of my life dating the UN, because I decided at this point that clearly the type of man I thought I wanted was unhealthy for me. So I had a certain level of criteria. You know, they had to be educated, they had to be intelligent, they had to, you know, have certain characteristics. They couldn't have a ton of kids, they couldn't have big dogs. My kids had to be the youngest in the quotient. You know, there was a list. Beyond that, I dated anyone who met that criteria and who fell within a certain age range. So there were Greeks, and there were Blacks, and there were Nigerians, and there were Italians, and there were Irishmen, and there was a European guy, an English guy, and there were Americans from the South and Americans from the North, and there was a Canadian, and, you know, there was a Texan. And, you know, I just was dating all of these guys initially with the same approach that I had had with my 20s. The same dating lessons I learned from my grandmother. Sublimate yourself, package yourself nicely, put on your lipstick, and do what you can to make them like you, which is another serious line of bullshit, if you ask me. What I figured out along the way, it took me years, but what I figured out along the way was that it was more important for me to like the version of me that I was sitting across the table from that person. Did I like the me I was capable, allowed to be, and still be safe with that guy? And most of the answers was no. And so delete, swipe right, bye-bye, kick you to the curb, go take a walk. You know, I was strong enough at this point where I felt like I could discern the good from the bad and pick a good apple. And then, this is the chapter I'm going to read from my book. It's very short. And then I met Aaron. I'm just going to read it. It's chapter 37. It's called The 4x4 to My Head. Mistakes are part of the dues one pays for a full life. Sophia Loren said that. So here's the chapter. After all this soul searching, a lot of journaling, conversations with my acupuncturist, and lots of sessions with my therapist, I began to figure some stuff out, and I was high on life. With all my recent epiphanies, I thought I'd finally learn the secret to finding happiness. And then I met Aaron online. We lived in the same town. He was a few years younger, had a master's degree in psychology, and worked at a local hospital. We talked for hours on the phone, quickly grew very comfortable talking to one another, and both opened up easily about our pasts. And although he didn't meet all my criteria, remember the list, much more extensive further back, we decided to meet. We chose a local Italian restaurant. It was a Friday night. The place was crowded, wall-to-wall people. I walked past the bar, which was very loud, crowds three deep trying to get the bartender's attention. Maitre d' offered to help me find Aaron's table in the back, away from all the noise at the bar, and I saw him. He looked just like his picture online and stood up to greet me. I felt like we fell in love the moment our eyes locked. He smiled a smile that could light up Times Square, reached out a hand for mine and pulled me toward him and kissed me on the left cheek. He was warm, about half a head taller than me, and smelled great like sandalwood and cinnamon. Throughout the whole meal and a few too many drinks, he shyly smiled at me, held my hand across the table as we talked easily and openly for hours. We were comfortable with each other and wildly attracted to each other. He wasn't my usual physical type and had trim facial hair, but I had long ago abandoned any real thoughts of type. We quickly fell into pace with one another. Our working hours were compatible and we spent a lot of time together. Dating became serious right away and we didn't want to see anyone else. He was a guitar player, and since I do a little singing now and then, we talked about starting a two-person musical ensemble. This was fun to dream about. We'd sing together to his guitar playing, which was a powerful aphrodisiac. Sex was raw, passionate, and powerful. He was not shy about what he liked and made me feel like the sexiest woman alive. It was fireworks for both of us. The energy between us was palpable and magnetic. As an educated, level-headed woman who, despite being a bit of a romantic, is pragmatic and logical, I spent my entire dating life before my marriage and after my divorce being open but skeptical about dating. In my 40s, I had learned this great lesson about myself and my worth and told myself that this relationship was going to be different. I was so happy with Aaron and felt that I was being 100% myself with him. I was me. I wasn't planning what I was going to say or measuring out how I was going to word something to gauge his reaction. It was just me, and this was great. And I thought he felt the same way. I was dead wrong. Sometimes the universe steps in and shows us we have no idea what we're talking about. The universe was testing me big time. Something significant was going on here. We both knew it. We both knew different things. He saw me as the perfect prey, someone to easily gaslight. I was blindsided. I thought that this was unlike anything I'd ever experienced, but it was exactly like everything else I had experienced. Aaron felt like home to me because he was a charming narcissist, just like all the previous narcissists in my life. I was used to being charmed and gaslighted, so being charmed and gaslighted by him was familiar and felt like home. I thought it was beschert, as my Jewish grandmother would say, but it was a disaster. Let's face it though, we live in the moment and try to be mindful of our happiness and joy. Instead of being cautious and taking my time to get to know him, I jumped in with both feet and swam in the phantom of love, joy, and passion. Without using my brain or remembering my hard-won lessons, boundaries, and pride in myself, I threw my own dating rules into the ocean. We were only together for 6 intoxicating and toxic weeks before I came to my senses. He used his master's degree in psychology and his charming narcissism to get me to lend him thousands of dollars towards launching his first jazz fusion album, convinced me to ditch plans with my friends, tried to muscle in on Thanksgiving with my family and children by emotionally manipulating me and nearly convincing me that I was paranoid and anxious all the time. In actuality, I was anxious only around him and not paranoid. I was anxious because he was growing more controlling and unpredictable by the day. He was paranoid of losing me, but couldn't see past his own needs to grasp that. He wanted what he wanted and really wasn't at all interested in my perspective or needs. I don't know how to explain how subtle it all was, the slow, slippery slope from charming, caring man to controlling, selfish liar. The subtlety is part of the trick. If you're reeled into dysfunction slowly, you don't recognize it as it happens and are less able to extricate yourself easily. With so many narcissists, this is the playbook. Once they have you, they have you. Part of me was seeing through his bullshit, but was being charmed back into the dark over and over. I was being manipulated. I always tried to keep the men I dated away from my kids, but for some reason, my kids met him briefly one day and hated him on sight. I was so far in the dark that I couldn't understand why. Because of this disaster, from then on, my kids insisted that I trust their intuition with respect to prospective dates. They were older now, and their opinions mattered to me and still do. At this point, in the thing with Aaron, my daughter and I got violently ill with food poisoning and were quarantined for days with such virulent disgustingness that forced me to throw all the bathroom rugs into the garbage, along with a set of bed sheets. I sent my son to stay with his father since he was not affected. We slept on and off, watched a lot of TV, hardly ate anything, and made very frequent trips to the bathroom. We took very good care of each other. Thank goodness for grocery delivery services because I was able to keep us stocked in ginger ale and saltines. During this week, Aaron felt his selfish needs and he couldn't see past them. He called me and learned that we were sick, and instead of offering to help in some way, he tried to get me to tend to his needs. He kept asking me to come over, not hearing me at all, and when I said we were terribly ill, when I refused to comply with his unreasonable demands, he screamed at me over the phone and called me a selfish bitch, and I hung up on him. Then he showed up at my house and I refused to answer the door. He kept knocking and shouting to get me to let him in, but my daughter and I were sick and he had crossed the line by screaming at me over the phone. I was done. My daughter was in her room, visibly upset by Aaron's off-the-hook behavior. I was in my bedroom ignoring him, talking on the phone with a friend about what was going on. Kurt was calm and reassuring, and he was trying to get me to just call the police to come deal with Aaron. For more than a half an hour, Aaron wouldn't leave and kept knocking at my front door, shouting and texting me. I thought we were safe inside our home, although he was freaking us out quite a bit. I should have called the police. I know this now. At the time, I didn't think we were in any danger, but a man that angry and that selfish could be capable of anything. The light had finally been turned on, and I suddenly saw him for the troll that he was. That was that. I never saw him again. I blocked him quickly from every method of contact. This was one of very few moments in our home when Simone felt unsafe and very scared. Until recently, I didn't know how much this affected her, and for my part in welcoming this creep into our lives, into my life, I'm very sorry. Reflecting on this in therapy, I decided that this business with Aaron was the test of my newly constructed dating rules and my resolve to put myself first. The universe was teaching me the same lesson again. This time, it was crystal clear. And I explained it to my therapist that this was the universe giving me one last 4x4 to the head to make sure that I knew how to put myself first, how to create healthy boundaries for myself and my kids, and how to move forward with my own thoughts and my own needs first. And for that, I thank this asshole because he helped me reach that epiphany a little bit faster than I could have. But this epiphany led me to Michael, who's right there in the corner here. I love him. Anyway, so ultimately that is the book. It is a book of hope. It talks about my toxic relationships and my blueprint for my life that I learned from my childhood and from growing up with my bipolar mother. And I'm happy to say that through a lot of soul searching and a lot of very deep personal excavation and a lot of writing and a lot of therapy and a lot of really good friends, I was able to get out of that and make my life better. And you'll have to read how it turns out, except that I won the jackpot, not only in recognizing how amazing I am, but in also marrying this lovely man here, Michael Brockman. I love you. So that's the book. And I feel that it is extremely important that we all share our stories, because although the specific details of our lives are different, the behaviors, the humanity, the love, the caring, the pain are all the things that connect us. We all share those things in common. And I think when we talk about them and we bring them into the light, we take away their power and we create community and connection and belonging for ourselves. And really that's all we can ever strive for in this world, I think. So that's the book. Some people have started reading it already. It's been pre-ordered. It's been in pre-orders for about a month, and it went live today. Everywhere in the world you can buy a book, which I'm pretty freaking excited about. I mailed a copy off to Oprah this afternoon, because you never know. And I mailed a copy to Reese Witherspoon, because you never know. They both have very mega popular book clubs, so we'll see. And a psychic who helped me sort of come to term with my own cosmology, as well as a neurosurgeon in Virginia who wrote a book called The Proof of Heaven, which I did one of my Sunday book reviews about a couple of weeks ago. I mentioned both of them in my book, and I sent them copies of it and asked them to let me interview them. So I'm trying to get the message out there, and you all being here and giving me the love and support is really all I could ever ask for. So thank you all for being here. It's been pretty great. So before I turn the mic over to Tim and Prahmiss, I would like to do one of the raffles, because why not? A lot of everybody who registered on the website, on the VIP launch team group on Facebook, and everyone who registered for this Zoom meeting today has a name in this lovely crystal bowl here. So the first thing that I'm going to raffle off is a signed copy of Permission to Land. So if your name gets picked, you're going to have to private message me or text message me or email me or something with your address. So April Tribe, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Giacu, I don't know. She's a fellow author from the publishing company that I'm working with. So she won a free book. So let's write that on the slip. Ooh, it's crystal.
Like that.
Okay, and now we'll do,
every time someone
I
wins
have
something.
this lovely little water bottle that says marcybrockman.com on it. My daughter commandeered one of them and said that it was an excellent water bottle. So let's see who gets this one. And the answer is Jacqueline Holdobler, who is the mother of 3 former students of mine, the Crow brothers. So I'm going to slide this in here, and that's that. So now I'd like to introduce Tim. We'll do some more raffles later. I'd like to introduce Tim Stachecki-Okrah, who is my lifelong friend, brother from another mother, my muse, one of my best friend. I adore this man from the top of his head to the bottom of his pinky toe. Everything about him. He actually performed our wedding ceremony when Michael and I got married, and I was a witness to his marriage to his husband about a year later, a little less than a year later, 6 months later, actually, right? And so Tim is an artist like I am, and he's a poet, way better than I could ever say anything in that form, and I'm gonna let him share what he's doing now and stuff that he's done.
Hi, everybody. One of the things that our friendship has brought to light, and that we've known each other for so long, she's seen me through several relationships.
As you have me.
Yes, is this idea of some sense of scarcity. There's like there was a thing that I would do in relationship that would have me think, I have to make this work no matter what, because I may not ever get a chance again.
Right. Which
is really kind of funny when you consider that there's how many billions of people in the world, and I'm not about to run out anytime soon. But based upon the way I was made up and my upbringing and my experiences, somehow I had it that I had better make this one work out. And so thank God I've subsequently learned that who I am is in love. And what that means is that regardless of whether the relationship works out or not, I'm going to be in love because that's who I am. If it's not this one, it'll be another one. If it's this one and another one, there's still another one waiting. There's no end in sight to the number of people that I can be in love with, it's all a function of who I am rather than how many of them there are.
Right.
And when I realized that, it made all the difference, because what it did was it allowed me to let them be rather than trying to make them stay. And so my first poem that I want to read was sort of around the time when I was having this realization. And it's called I'm Getting Better. I'm getting better at this thing called loving you, trying to get through the dirty part of me and you. I'm getting better at the slamming doors, the wanting more, the I've never been here before. And my sixth sense is telling me, you're getting better loving me. And if I only wait some more, it won't be like those times before. My ears still ring with the sound of you promising to never raise your voice again, to never become threatening. So as I sit here shivering, I'm thinking that we're better than we've been. Now, if I could only believe that true love could survive the inevitable slide, the inexorable glide, uncovering the things you hide, discovering the times you lied, I think we're getting better all the time. And now, almost to prove you're right, you've offered me your hand, a gate to the broken promised land, less like a choice, more a demand, a gauntlet to throw down. You dare me to commit, to kneel and take the crown. Drama queen or queen of fools, I will remain instead the Duke of Indecision. Though I'll hold on to your vision, take what I've learned and use the tools, and I'll be better than I've ever been.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Better than you've ever been. That's a key.
And something I've tried to do is learn from my own mistakes in a relationship and release whatever it was that they were up to, because they were there based upon my own consent. And I learned a lot about myself in each relationship that I had. And if I pin responsibility for how things turned out on them, then I'm losing the lesson. And I don't get to carry anything into subsequent relationships. And, you know, that goes a long way. One of the other things I write about is kind of like what we're going through in the world. This time we're going through, it seems as though the amount of turmoil that we can put up with is increasing over time. And by put up with, I mean not die from.
Right.
I don't believe that I'm thriving in this environment. In fact, as an artist, my creative energies are at a bare minimum at best. I've had a painting in my mind that I've been able to see in my mind for months and months, and I have not been able to motivate myself to actually put it onto the canvas. And so I start looking at the things that I've done in the past, and I came across this one that sort of spoke to progress and the times that we're going through. And so I'm going to share that, and it's called Progress. This is actually written, I think in 2014, and I can't believe it was that long ago, but it's pretty relevant now. Progress, they said, as though fewer tears would feed us, inching toward freedom. Trees bear fewer strange fruit in these later days. We now keep our produce in cartons and cages, trading white sheets for blue suits. Bedding is measured by thread count, and the expense of progress in a lower dead count, as though fewer tears should feed us. Progress, they said, in 35 states, though the other 15 will just have to wait, while the watery soup called justice regroups, while the idea of love still cannot win in the states where my love is still called a sin. Progress is in courtrooms tonight, inching towards freedoms and fighting for rights. Really, though, to tell you the truth, enough is enough. Progress requires blinders and a patience I don't possess. Wrong is just wrong, and if ripping off a bandage seems too fast, you might be among those living in the past, keeping bigots and racists comfortable, while I'm not willing to pause, while change seeps slowly through the gauze.
Really nice, Tim.
You could have just written that about this spring.
Yeah.
Wow, you're very prophetic.
Well, it says two things, I think. It says that this is relevant, and it says, damn, we really haven't come very far, have we?
No.
So part of the context of that is my husband is from Nigeria. I'm sorry, from Ghana. I don't know where that came from. He's from Ghana. He's from
The
Ghana.
ether somewhere.
And the new place I find myself in is a responsibility I carry for having him be in this brand of danger that he's in as a Black man in the United States. And I live in a wonderful town, Northport, and I figured, you know, he's safe. He's safe here. We're nice people. And yet he's been pulled over by the police 4 times. And one time, while he wasn't even driving, he was walking, wondering what business he had being in this neighborhood. And so this idea of safety and responsibility it's really big. And it's come into my writing and my thoughts a lot. And so when I found this poem from 2014, I was like, holy crap, we haven't moved an inch. And
we've moved, but we've moved backward.
Well,
I think we're worse off in some respects than we were. In some respects not, but.
No, I just think that a lot of uncomfortable things that we couldn't see have surfaced, kind of like a pimple. Like it was always there, but because of everything that led up to now, it's just right here now. It's like right in front of our faces when it wasn't before.
Yeah.
And it's ugly and horrific, and we need to deal with it and look at it for finally.
Yeah.
So the next poem that I have is about my husband.
Sweet Bonnie.
I love you with such intensity to compensate for the hot sand that often flows freely from the mouths of my people, trying to make you so loved that my glowing wave will wash away the startling thing we do, have done, will do, have become to your people. I love you in your perfect way, with a weight of admiration like a heavy blanket of ash, insulating, but that you must strive to grow through, lest the rain of little insults harden into concrete. the steady rain of amending your perfection with small print disclaimers, the million little drops of suspicion, distrust, preconception, following you every day, though you don't even know yet. I love you like a painting, coloring you with a brushstroke so intense that none will fail to see or wish less than your immortality, leaving Mona Lisa powerless to beguile with her smile. I love you. Do you feel it? Does your heart soak it in enough that no one can steal it?
That's beautiful.
Really beautiful, Tim.
Very intense.
Thanks.
I think he feels it.
Whoa, I got that one.
You guys are gonna be feeling a little emotional over here.
Yeah, a little. It's rendered me speechless.
I feel like I'm in therapy or something.
Well, that's what conversation does, you know. The more we talk, the more we learn.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tim.
Here's another one that came up in being in a new marriage. It's you find all kinds of situations where we learn things that we didn't expect, or we discover things about ourselves that we never knew.
Yeah, I'm in that boat too.
That's called smoke and mirrors. My brain is at best a broken filter, clogged by the dust of past broken hearts, and I label the scanty bits that come through it as reality, warped by hurt or bent by denial and shame. Is it any wonder I don't recognize myself in your eyes or the mirror? That you love me on days when I'm ugly seems a miracle, or temporary insanity worthy of suspicion, certainly medication, or at the very least, it's something that surely you'll snap out of eventually. Should you avoid new glasses for the sake of my heart? Could I compensate by being really good at art or generosity freely flowing on my part? Or should I warn you that when you wake up, to be kind as you depart? All of this goes on behind my eyes as I look at you, unaware that today is your ugly day, and my wanting you seems suspicious too. How can we meet in the middle, empty-handed, and allow you and I to be the only ones holding hands, nothing to hide, all smoke and mirrors aside?
Wow.
Good.
That's powerful.
It's so
And
intense.
the message really is that we don't really need to do anything to be worthy of love. Just for the sake that we take air into our lungs is enough reason.
Yeah.
But our self-perceptions, the stories we tell ourselves, have control over how we feel and we behave. So we need to flip the script and rewrite what it is we're saying about ourselves. Mean things we say in our internal dialogue that we would never say out loud, that we would never say to anyone else, we have to stop saying to ourselves.
Yeah. I believe that we are born with a fundamental base of belonging.
Fundamental what? I lost it.
A fundamental foundation of belonging.
Foundation.
A profound belonging with every other human being.
Right.
And we're the only ones that gets to say. Other people may say you don't belong, but they only get to say whether they belong.
That's their opinion.
Right, and you can disagree with their opinions. I can disagree with your opinion.
Absolutely. And the story I tell should have no effect on your self-esteem or your behavior or the things that you do, because it's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So those are a few of my poems. I've got dozens of them, and I rarely know when to stop. I do want to say that there was a group of poets that I met through my best friend and one of his friends, Kelly Carter, and that's where I met Prahmiss, and that's where I gained the courage to share the poetry that I would write. And in gaining the courage to share it, I started writing more of it. And I have never published, but I freely share it. And I'm not afraid to do it anymore. Those things that you gain with practice.
Mhm.
And I look at it as one of the art forms that I dabble in, one of the media that I practice in. And words to me are probably one of the most beautiful types of media that we have. They're uniquely individual, and I think that's possibly why Marcy and I get along so well, because she has a similar grasp of how vocabulary can work towards releasing our soul, releasing our creativity and our ability to truly understand one another. And we truly understand one another.
Yeah.
She allows that, and she's someone else who will not be satisfied with just saying something without curating the words and position of the vocabulary such that it communicates exactly the way that she feels.
With precision, yeah. And
And
clarity and openness, yeah.
yeah, and that's something else. That's something that I heard in the poetry that Prahmiss creates. When I hear her, I am there with her, experiencing what she's writing about, and that's hard to do. It's hard to. It's not something that we all get a lot of practice in.
No.
Like curating the space with vocabulary, creating something that anybody can ride along with. Really, it's an endless discovery, and I really appreciate being able to share some of it with you.
Thank you, Tim.
Wonderful. So now, should we turn the table over to, or turn the mic, so to speak, to Prahmiss? That was a bed of introduction as I could give her. So.
Yeah, it was. Thanks, Tim.
I don't think I could have put that better.
I'm sitting here listening to you guys, and I honestly feel like I'm in therapy. And I've never been to therapy. I've been through hell and back, and I've never been to therapy. Music and writing was my escape, similar to you, Marcy. I feel like it was my life jacket. Without me writing, I don't know where I'd end up, where I'd be right now. I'm a work in progress. Been going through so many things. Yeah, it's just so weird. I mean, and you feel like when you get older, you know, kind of slows down, but it doesn't. You just kind of keep going through, you know, different things. And my core mission in life is to inspire people and be inspired. I feel like without inspiration, we're just dead, like a flower with no stem. We're slowly gonna die. And you guys touched on so many different topics today already within the hour that touched me. Tim, when you were speaking about your husband and what we are experiencing now, and similar experiences that you touched on, Marcy, with your mom, and how you perceived love. And I feel like that was a very finding love for myself was very, very difficult. Imagine, you know, Tim, you said something about everyone is born with a sense of belonging. Imagine, you know, being in a situation where you, before you understood what belonging was, you didn't belong. I don't know if I said that right. The first poem I'm going to share with you is called Our Long Walk. And a lot of my experiences, it's before before I reached a certain point in my life, let's say love, I was basically stripped from it. You know, I wasn't able to experience beautiful love first. I had to experience this first. You know, self identity. I wasn't able to identify with self. It was stripped from me. So before I found myself, I was stripped from self identity. So imagine having to pick yourself up and up and up and again. It's very difficult to do. This one is dedicated to my mother. I was so young, yet the memory of our long walk still resonates in my mind. I can remember looking up at my mother as she walked my brothers and I down this long walkway. My younger brother was just a toddler, and my older brother was about 5 or 6 at the time. I was so young, yet the memory of our long walk still resonates in my mind. My mother walked, her yellow polka dot dress danced freely to the rhythm of the wind. The sun shined brightly. I can hear the birds chirping like little kids playing and lawnmowers making backfiring noises. I remember her nervous grin. I was excited because I thought we were on our way to the park. The weather was beautiful, but there seemed to have been this dark cloud that was hovering over us on our long walk. My mother had an uneasy energy. She seemed sad at the time, but determined. She seemed so determined. I was so young, yet the memory of our long walk still resonates in my mind. I can remember us all holding hands while she slowly pushed the stroller down the long walkway. What a perfect family picture. But for some reason, I knew I would miss my mother forever. I was so young, yet the memory of our long walk still resonates in my mind. This was the first and last memory of us all together on our long walk to the doors of St. Catherine's Foster Care Center. It's crazy because I was so young. I think I was about probably 1 and change, just walking, just barely walking. And I remembered this. I had to ask my older brother, what was our mother wearing? Was it a yellow polka dot dress? And he said, yeah. So I don't even know how that works, I guess because it was a traumatizing event for me. But I remember it. And the crazy thing at the time when I wrote this, we didn't know where our mother was. She struggled with mental health issues. She was a vet. And, you know, we were looking for her and we couldn't find her. So we ended up recently finding her. She was right in Northport, probably around you, Tim, at a vet hospital many months ago. And
I know where that is.
Yep. One of the nurses contacted us through social media, and long story short, we all got together and saw her for the first time in probably 20-something years.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we saw her, she was so happy. Then we got our older brother on the phone who's in another state, and it was just so beautiful. And then a couple of months passed, and then I find out that she has cancer, and they gave her 4 months. A month goes by, and she passes away last week. So tomorrow's the funeral.
Promise, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a lot more to that story, and it's just heart-wrenching. And my anxiety is through the roof.
I'm sure.
So, I'm supposed to speak at the funeral tomorrow. I don't know how I'm going to be. This next one is called Dear God. After we were adopted, the hand we were given wasn't great at all. Our mother was a beautiful person. She passed away of cancer as well, unfortunately. She was able to plant a lot of seeds within me, thank God. But unfortunately, we were all dealt a crazy hand, But like I said, my core mission is to inspire people through my pain, through my trauma, through my struggle, and hopefully bring someone out of the darkness that, you know, I've been able to take myself out of slowly but surely.
I think we all have the same mission.
So how come you never heard my cry? Where is the map that will lead me to a place where I'm free to love and be myself without being tormented and despised? If there's a path that I should be walking on that will take me to a world where happiness dwells and the beauty of life lives freely, then I am begging you for guidance. Please show me the way. I am lost with no clue on where I am and where I'm supposed to be going. How can I be surrounded by so much love yet still feel so lonely? Like a nomad, I am a traveler wandering aimlessly, searching for survival, and holding these broken seeds of faith that are slowly being washed away in this never-ending stream of hopelessness. I'm living a life where my heart has been broken by what has now become the face of my existence, hate. Heartless is what I've become. So if home is where the heart is, then I am homeless with no foundation to build. I am weak and can no longer withstand the winds of tribulation. Anger burdens my soul. Every day is mental torture. When I look in the mirror, I see no reflection. Who am I? Where am I? And why am I still here? All that stands before me are the dark shadows of my past that just won't seem to disappear. The cruel teachings of my past left this cold house in shambles. The rooms are empty yet filled with the lifeless energy that overwhelms my mind with harrowing thoughts. As I sit in my mother's old green leather chair, I wonder how life would be if I died today. Who would really cry for me? I wonder. Tell me, what soul would even care? So many questions and not enough answers other than believe and continue to pray. I sit and watch time pass me by, leaving my future in the hands of my past as the hands on the clock tick-tock away. Where do I begin? And how will it all end? Stuck and frozen by fear and left to put this dirty bandage over this open scar again. This has been a long road to recovery. My weakness was once my crutch. I never really knew how to live and love freely, so I loved strongly but could never touch, never trust. My mother could never understand why I would always hate to be touched. I was insecure, I hated myself, and all because of their perverted lust. I was a victim before I learned how to ride a bike. I was a victim before I could read full sentences. I was a victim for more than half of my life. They say everything happens for a reason, so please explain to me what this lesson is, or better yet, what the blessing is. Why am I still a victim? I love to love, but refuse to be loved. How could you blame me? Betrayal was my teacher. Deceit is what I grew to learn. My truth was forbidden, said the preacher, so these dark secrets I soon burned. There was not one soul who heard my cries, but if you gaze deeply within my eyes, you would see that I was torn. I spent half of my life dead inside, and subconsciously still I mourn. I was just a little girl, so why was my innocence stripped from being free? God, tell me, where were you the day they stole my innocence away from me? Many nights I've cried alone, feeling trapped, asking you why no one ever came to rescue me. How come no one could hear my cry? All those years I feared the world would judge me for what happened to me as a child. I went through life lying to myself and hiding away in denial. Constantly internalizing the truth, pretending that I was happy when all along. The thought of committing suicide grew, and my belief in you was gone. I wish that I can erase it. I wish that this revolving door of shamefulness and self-hatred would finally go away. Dear God, if you can hear me now, I am begging you, please, please, please take this pain away. I was only 3 when she decided to take advantage. Only 5 when he and his friend added to the damage. If there is really a God, then God, please help me understand this. I was just a little girl, so why was my innocence stripped from being free? God, where were you the day they stole my innocence away from me? Who do I trust now? My own so-called family drowned me in this pit of pain. Worthlessness and self-pity is what the mirror reflects. My spirit is hopeless. And what more in life do I really have to gain? The dark shadows of my past make me feel as heavy chains are constantly being twisted around my waist. Sometimes I just wish I wasn't alive. I no longer have the stamina to finish this exhausting race. I've tried to escape, but everywhere I run, it's like my presence is being chased. I've tried to hide, but I am faced with the same fears. The tears continue to fall as the same look in the mirror appears. Every day of my life is the same questions and the same tears. The same memories won't stop rewinding and playing snapshots from the same horrific years. Fear has imprisoned my mind, lost and confused I am, like a mouse in a maze with no end. God, tell me, where were you all this time? I was dying inside like a flower with no stem. How can I go on in life still trying to pretend like nothing ever happened in that room? All I do is walk around with my head held down, ballooned with bitterness and clouded with gloom. How come you never heard my cry? I know it was a little heavy, but me being as trying to be transparent is to hopefully give someone else hope who has experienced some of the same things. So a lot of my stuff is just raw, you know, and although I am a work in progress, winning to me, my new book that I'm working on and just about done is called Win, The Time Is Now. I basically wrote it for me. I've been a competitor all my life. I ran track. I did very, very well. I was trained to be #1 martial artist, a stripe away from being a black belt. I love competing, battle rapping. That was my thing. I've always trained to be #1, but no one has ever coached me on what it means to look at yourself in the mirror and find that little girl in you, find that person in you, and say, okay, this is who needs to be #1. You know, I've been competing all my life and going through everything that I've been going through all my life. And I've been running, just running. No one has taught me how to progress, you know, there's a disconnect. We're often taught how to win, so to speak. Oh, you gotta win, just get up and keep going, you know, but no one really teaches you how to progress, you know, if that makes sense. And I just had to look in the mirror and I guess figure it out for myself. And like I said, I'm a work in progress. I'm not perfect, but I love, my core mission is just to inspire people, and that's how I keep going. Without inspiration, I don't know where I would be.
Absolutely.
But thank you. And you're an inspiration to me as well.
And you to me. I'm crying here now. Thank God I brought tissues.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you all know me pretty well, a lot of you. I crying is like my natural state.
Never seen you cry. I've never seen you cry.
No. No. Promise, I think we have a lot in common.
Mm-hmm.
Our hearts are the same.
Yep. I'm
Wow.
so glad you invited me to this. I can't wait to read your book. I'm excited about it.
And yours too. It's so cool.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And
I was wondering.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the pictures that you were taking on Instagram in that big chair. I was
wondering, yeah.
Like, what is that about? That was very cool. I want to see that.
It's coming. But just to let everyone know, the poem that I was reading, the poems that I was reading from is The Beautiful Side of Ugly, poetry book that I wrote. 2013, long time ago. It's like my baby. It's not, you know, my best work, but maybe it is to someone.
Stop being self-deprecating. That was who you are at the time. That's your heart, and your heart is gorgeous, and you should never ever apologize for it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Never.
Thank you for sharing.
I think the nature of being a poet is being able to stomach the stuff that you wrote a certain length of time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I have a book of poetry that I was looking through the other night with Marcy, and it was like I was flipping through the pages and I'm going, oh God, not that one. Oh no, not that one. And
while he was doing that, I was looking at the little file on my Finder that says writing and poetry that I wrote in the late 80s and the 90s, and oh my God in heaven, was that awful. I was in the deep well of darkness, and that sucked.
And I think because the nature of poetry is visceral, and we grow from there.
Right.
Going back and revisiting that has a certain stomach turning quality to it that so that book, I'm glad I wrote it. I'm glad I wrote that stuff down. Thank God I don't have to go back there and relive it at the same time.
It's an evolution.
But yeah, it's one of the things about past poetry, right? Prahmiss?
Yes, I definitely agree.
Right. Absolutely. So what we all have in common is the catharsis of writing.
Yep.
That in order to excavate our heart and figure out ourselves and the world around us, we do this through creating art, in maybe visual art, maybe word art, like the specificity of language that Tim was talking about before. But what all of this does is a tried and true psychological practice called expressive writing. And there have been lots of studies done to prove the benefit of expressive writing on getting control over what seems uncontrollable. So as a companion to Permission to Land, I'm actually in the process of publishing a second book the day that this is being birthed. I'm actually was on the email with a book designer who did this book, and what I've done is I've created a companion to this called Personal Transformation Through Writing. So it's essentially the same cover with a different subtitle. And what this is over 100 pages of writing prompts and questions, tools that I used in therapy, tools that I used when writing this book and reading through my journals that can help the participants excavate and get in touch with their own selves, figure out who their authentic selves are, what their childhood was like, and look back and see patterns and figure out who they are and where they want to be going forward. So I'm giving away a free mini version of this course that's like 25 pages or so that everybody who's in attendance here, I have all your emails, you are going to be receiving a free downloadable version of this. It's a fillable PDF that you can write on. It's in your computer. Some of you may have received it already. I don't know. I haven't looked at the spreadsheet where I keep all those emails. Anyway, but it's also on sale on my website at marcybrockman.com. The full PDF version is on sale there. And I've decided that not everybody likes to type things. I know my daughter likes to write things out longhand. And so what I'm doing is publishing the 109-page version, I think it is at this point, as a separate book. It's going to be the same size, but a quarter of the thickness. So, approximately this thick. And I'm hoping that it'll help people take the same journey that I went on through writing this book, that Tim and Prahmiss do through their poetry. I think that it's all very cathartic and helpful, and a way to get in touch with our past as we're moving forward into what is hopefully a better future for all of us. Mm-hmm. One where we're not taking other people's opinions as facts about our lives, where we're not sublimating our own needs and desires to please other people, where we're not homeless emotionally, where we have a sense of belonging and connection that's deeply rooted beneath our feet within the healthy boundaries and the people we love and trust who deserve to be with us. So that's the goal. So I think it's time for another raffle. What do you think?
Yay, raffle.
Okay, so since I'm an artist, what I did was and I'm publishing a book in the summer, I decided that the big marketing thing is beach reads, summer beach reads. So I have 2 prizes, which are very big beach bags. This is a painting of mine that I had converted into a bag. And what's in this bag is one of these custom water bottles and a coordinating beach towel or blanket, which is pretty big, and a fun pair of sunglasses, not really unisex, but oh well, sorry. They're very dark. I like them, they're cute. And a free signed copy of the book. So there are 2 of these grand prizes, and this is one of them. So we'll see who gets this bag. We take the crystal bowl out, And let's see what we get. Hopefully the person doesn't live so far away that it's a fortune to mail. And we get Christina Andola. Yay! Is that the Christina in the corner? Is she here?
Yeah, I'm here. I was on mute.
Yay! Christine is actually.
Hey, I'm so excited. Just before you pulled the raffle, I was gonna say, pick me, pick me, pick me.
Christine was my roommate in college at New Paltz from 1988 to 1990. We were inseparable. And she's in my book, but her name has changed, so she's gonna have to go look. Christine.
And I'm not sure if anybody could live further away from you right now for mailing purposes. Just
Oh,
so you
yeah,
know.
you're in Seattle. That's
Sorry.
true. No worries, no worries. Okay, so your name, you got that bag. Now we have another one that's exactly the same kind of thing, but a different painting. This is actually the painting that's behind me on the wall. That's in a bag. And this one comes with a white towel because I couldn't find a teal one, and a a water bottle, and a different pair of sunglasses. This one is a little more unisex, so maybe a guy will win. Ooh, these are nice.
Nice.
I'm not keeping these. These are nice. And it will come with a signed copy of the book. And then it will actually be a beach read. So let's see who's getting this one. It's very awkward. It's very big. Okay. Now we go into the bowl, and I won't look. And we have Jeremy Snowden. Jeremy Snowden is not here. Jeremy Snowden is a member of the VIP launch team group on Facebook. He is quite prolific, sharing. I had all these social media activities where people had to like my Instagram and pick a picture from my website and post it on their Instagram and tag me. And there were all these things. I'm going to put that in that bag. There we go. And so he did a lot of those. And so then we have two scarves. One fell on the floor. Ooh, it's 8:25. I'm sorry I'm taking, I'm having a very good time, so the time doesn't matter to me, but, okay, so this is one of my scarves. It's a 55 by 55 inch polyester microfiber scarf. It's delicious, it has a lovely hand. It feels like silk, but isn't. It's completely washable. Let's see what it looks like. It is a big abstract floral. I love these. These are great. I wear them all year long. They're big enough to wrap around your neck 3 times in the winter. They keep you warm. They're also scarves. You can wear them as a shawl, and they're also large enough where you can wear as a sarong around your waist. Let's see who gets this one. It's fun. This is Daniela Bray, also a former student of mine, just graduated from pharmacy school, so she's now Dr. Bray. Pink. I'm trying to write on this. I don't have an assistant. So this goes to Daniela Bray. Let's make a pile. All right, we have one more scarf. This one, when I was convalescing last summer after my hysterectomy, I spent a lot of time on the couch. And I couldn't paint in my studio, so I was doing a lot of things in my lap. And I was trying to find peace, so I painted this big green mandala. It's hard to see because it's big, but let's see who gets this one. Back into the bowl. And we have Corey Ann Caravella, another former student of mine. Yay, Corey Ann. Fabulous. Fabulous. Yay. Should we do another book? We should do a signed book. I had planned to do 2 signed books going out too. So let's pull more raffles. This is hysterical. I like this. It feels like Christmas. Says the Jewish woman, right? This goes to Vicki Teresa Brockman, my sister-in-law.
Wow.
Of course, she already bought her own book. Should I give her another one or should we re-raffle it? She's not here.
Re-raffle it.
Re-raffle. She already bought one.
A chance.
What does she need 2 for? Kathleen Becker. I don't know who Kathleen Becker is. Somebody on my launch team. Signed book.
You can always pick something else for Vicky.
Kathleen Becker, launch team. Okay. And we have one more. This is Andrea Mendocino Drace, colleague of mine who I adore. Andrea, yay! Actually, she bought a book too. Let's pick someone else. Xander Lewis, excellent. I think he is another writer from my writing group and has been on my launch team. So excellent, bravo, yay! That was fun. At least for me. I don't know if it was fun for you, but that was fun.
Giving stuff away is always fun.
Yeah, I like giving stuff away. I went to the post office yesterday with my first set of pre-orders that were being fulfilled. I got a box from Amazon with the books, author copies of the books, you know, not author copies, but legit copies of the books. And anyway, so I packaged them all. Nina and I invented a way of folding tissue paper around them, and I have these custom stickers made to try to make a nice presentation. And everybody got one of these bookmarks, and the woman at the post office asked what the book was about, and as I was telling her, she was giving me her life story and how her best friend died when she was 8 and how her mother died, and then a few months ago she found her brother dead on the floor and she had a stroke and has no memory, and I'm like, oh my God, what a horrible story. So I went to the post office today to mail some more books out, and I just gave her one, you know, seemed interested, and her story was just so overwhelmingly traumatic that I couldn't help myself. Anyway, so I had thought maybe we would get to a writing exercise, but it's already 8:30. We've been here for an hour and a half. I think maybe we're out of time. I'll do that in another venue. You all will be getting, if you haven't already, an email from me with the free writing course, Personal Transformation Through Writing. And I'm leaving myself a note so I don't forget. I get distracted and Cat walks across the screen and I'm like, what am I doing? So that's that. This was a super fun evening. Does anybody have any questions? Anything that they want to talk about? Anyone else?
Do you have more of those water bottles?
No, I actually don't.
I'm so sad.
But I got them from this really cool woman on Etsy. So I may order more because Nina said they were so great. We should have extras, you know. I'm going to be doing book signings, so I should have swag, as they put it, I suppose, you know. So we'll get more of those. I do have the bookmarks that everybody's getting in a book, and so it's fun.
I'm so excited to get it.
Well, there's Laura. Hi, Laura.
Thank you for the invitation.
My pleasure. Thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Prahmiss, when does your book come out?
August 1st.
Oh, that's coming up. Cool. Yep. How do we get one?
Digital copy first, and then I'll let you know. I'll do all the marketing.
Okay, great.
All right.
Good. Definitely good. Excellent. I love you all. Thank you all for coming and helping me usher into this lifelong project of mine, this little book baby of mine into the world. And I just think you're all fabulous. And I couldn't feel more supported or loved at all. You guys are great.
Wise, congratulations.
Thank you.
Morris.
I love you guys.
Yes, Marcy.
All
Nice
right.
meeting you all.
Nice to meet
See you
you.
later.
Lovely to see everybody.
Take care.
So great.
Be well.
Be well. Excellent. Yay. Everyone's leaving. The squares are getting bigger. Visually, it's a very funny thing to see.
I love that there are 3 of us in 3 different rooms of the house.
Well, I was downstairs, but I was getting an echo from Marcy's talking to.
That's why I closed my door, because I was heard her at first.
So I had to go upstairs.
Family, you can come around.
Mars. Mom and Jeff were here. Ellen and Jeff were here for the vast majority of it. They had to go a few minutes ago, but they were here. We were all here. We were just trying
You
to.
were reading at some point when they came on. You missed it.
What'd you say?
And Marcy was reading at the point when you all came on the screen. Marcy missed it because she was.
Well, I saw you all sitting there.
Okay.
You did.
At your kitchen table.
Laura's here.
Hi, Christina.
We were here the whole time.
Yeah, I know. But then you disappeared, and I just saw your name, and then you came back, and
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Christina and JT.
Hi.
How are you, Christina?
I heard wrong when you announced the raffle because the kids are chattering and I heard preview the winner, Christina and John, and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
And it was Christine. I forget her last name, but
Angola.
Close.
Oh.
My
Patty
college
said-
roommate from 88 to 1990.
Mm.
We just recently got in touch again. We had been in touch for a little while in 2016, and then we just fell off each other's maps. And then randomly, I guess she saw stuff on Facebook about the book or whatever, and she reached out to me, and she got out of the old relationship she was in and is now with some other guy, and she's living in Seattle, and then they're moving to DC, and she's got all this stuff going on. And we've been in contact for the last, I would say, 10 days, but hadn't actually talked to each other in 4 years. So kind of fun and weird and random.
That's cool.
How's the house shaping up, Christina?
Well, look at
Good.
I see
There's
some nuggets and a puppy.
Yeah, there's some nuggets.
Hi, Nuggets.
They can't hear you. You're not-
Love you guys.
Love you. Thanks for your Zoom link, Laura. And
Yeah, you're in my earbuds, so they can't hear you, but I can hear you. And then the other three are in here. But yeah, I really like Promise's poems. I want to get
Yeah,
more.
wow.
She's intense. I think she's
She
fabulous.
is, yeah.
Sometimes you need to be. I'll be right in.
When I just saw her perform that one time in that place. I think it was at Deer Park. I'm not really sure when Tim performed, and she just blew me away. And the things
I
that
wanna
she
start
was doing
writing
then
poetry
were more like rappy, like what do they call that?
Like slam poems.
Yeah, with rhythm.
That's my favorite stuff.
And it was.
And Tim's are more rhythmic. I want to turn them into songs.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I knew that our messages were all parallel. You know, we have different ways of expressing different experiences, and yet the underlying core foundation is all the same. So I thought it went well. Did it go well? It went well, I think.
Yeah, it did.
Had like 17 people. I was hoping for more of a crowd, but you know, it was good. I liked it.
Well, there were a
It was
bunch
fun.
that were in and out. So
Yeah.
like you probably had more than that total. There were probably like 20, 25 people. I know there were a lot of people that were like there in the beginning and then left, and then some people who came in the middle and then left. So like, it was a pretty good turnout.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was a happy moment, a happy day.
Absolutely. And my sweet husband gave me this lovely bouquet of flowers today.
What a good husband.
Great.
Yeah.
Nina went out to go to work, and she's like, wait, there are flowers. She said, close your eyes. I'm like, what? She's like, close your eyes. So she comes into the house with this bouquet, and I'm like, what the hell is this? She's like, it's for you. I'm like, why? And then I read the card, and I realized that Michael's the sweetest man ever. Of course, I knew that already, but he just reminds me of that every day.
It's book launch day. It's a big milestone.
Absolutely. Book launch day. Goes live into the world. Hopefully we sell some of them. That'd be good.
I want the hardcover.
So do I.
I'm
I haven't
waiting.
seen them yet.
I'm waiting patiently.
I don't remember which one I ordered.
If
I was like, all right, book, yay. And
I think you ordered a paperback, and I mailed it yesterday.
Yay!
So it's on its way to you. I think I'm gonna sign off, and we're gonna go figure out what to do for dinner. Because I was so consumed with this that I didn't plan that. I didn't get any further than the glass of champagne. And
I ordered food a little while ago.
he's more organized than I am. Christina, give all those nuggets of yours a big fat kiss for me. And a big hug. And John too, when you see him. Is he home? Or is he away?
He his coworker's wife has the COVID, so they all have and come home. But I mean, luckily, all his interactions with the guy, they're in Tyvek suits all day long. But I mean, it was like a week.
One of John's coworkers got COVID.
No, his coworker's wife.
His coworker's wife, excuse me.
They got tested, and they didn't get the rapid test. They got the slower, more accurate one.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we're waiting for that to come back. So he's in our room with a mask on, and the kids are staying out in the living room, and I'm sanitizing and everything.
Lovely.
A good time.
Quarantining in your own house.
Mom wanted me to go kayaking with her this weekend, and I'm like, you're literally just coming back from Florida.
Absolutely not. She should quarantine for 14 days.
I know.
Oh, I can't. And she's the one who's asking if we have done. My mother. Yeah, she was here Saturday because she's in Florida for what, 8 days? So she spent one with the grandchildren.
Naturally.
The rest will be spent jet skiing. All right, I'll go with dinner.
That's it.
Must eat food.
Okay.
Do it. I made cauliflower because the kids like the rainbow cauliflower. Yeah.
Do you say rainbow cauliflower?
Yeah, it's purple and orange and green.
That's pretty.
Wow. What flavor? What makes it colored?
I think it's just the way it grows. There's a good produce place on my way home called Downtown Produce. So sometimes I stop there because their chicken breasts are $1.70 a pound.
Wow.
And they sushi grade salmon and tuna. So that's where I've been getting the meat for the poke bowls that I've been making. And that was where I got the vegetables. They have multicolored carrots too. I didn't know carrots came in like more than
Purple
orange.
carrots I've had.
They have purple. They have a bag that's got like purple, white, yellow, and orange. And I was like,
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I've seen purple and white, but I don't think I've seen yellow. That's interesting.
I'm looking at it right now. I see purple, green, and orange.
Where are you looking? Online?
Yeah, I went to Google.
Yeah,
You Googling man, you.
I had to see what.
Yeah, hold on. I cooked it so the orange one looks more yellow, but it's purple, orange, and green cauliflower. Yeah, and then I made pork chops, and I made mac and cheese bites, and now I want to go to bed.
That's the new stove. You love it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Ready? New stove.
Ooh.
Oh, it's got 5 burners. Big old oven. Look how big that oven is.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Convection
Crank that
oven.
microwave.
Oven and a broiler. Then the microwave is also an air fryer and a convection oven.
Oh, shit. That's cool.
I have the air fryer that John got me for Christmas, but it's not the kind that has the little basket. It's huge. So I air fry a ton of stuff in that. Then there's my snazzy new fridge.
Ooh.
Which is delightful. And the freezer down there.
Freezer's at the bottom like ours.
Yeah, and then I got a new dishwasher, which is pretty cool. And then it has a separate tray for your
Ooh.
cooking.
That's amazing.
That's cool.
You don't have to waste all the space in the top rack.
And then I got a new washer and dryer, and it's humongous. That's 3 blankets, 2 sets of sheets, and clothes.
Wow.
It's humongous. It's like, what does it say?
Hi, Luke.
13 cubic feet or something ridiculous. Yeah. So, yeah, I got a whole bunch of new appliances because the ones that were here were poop, and so I spent the money on.
Cool.
Yep. And there's 2 TVs set up next to each other for optimum gaming purposes.
Speaking of gaming, I'm off tomorrow if you want to play.
I'm off Friday.
Of course, I'm working Friday. I got drafted for the holiday.
This is the jungle bedroom for Michael and Logan. They like their room. And then Melody's room is full of boys right now because that's where the switch is.
You got a walk-in closet in the master bedroom, right? Or do you have 2?
I have a linen closet and a walk-in closet in the master bathroom.
What about the kids? Do they get regular closets or walk-ins?
They have regular closets. Melody's is a little bigger than others, but it's just a regular
Oh,
closet.
I think my food's here.
Got a big old walk-in
You ordered
closet.
food?
And then a linen closet. But deep.
Yeah, I couldn't concentrate on the phone long enough to do it. I tried.
And then John's in the shower. And then there's the bathroom. John says hi.
Nice. Hi, John.
I need to hang more stuff up on the wall. Like I hung Mom's painting here.
Yeah.
And I mean, that stuff's not mounted. I just got these candles in Pennsylvania. They're so pretty.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Yeah, instead of lighting them, Joanne had them drill out the middle so I could just put a pretty color in it. But I need more paintings. I wish I could grab the ones that were yours that were in our old house because I just have so much space that needs crap.
Well, now that this whole launch day has happened, I'll have a little bit more liquid time on my hands, and I'm itching to start painting again. So I can finally do the butterfly that you want and the one your grandmother wants, and I haven't had any time.
She had it before my mother came down.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it was
No, it's fine.
between school and the book stuff, I was working like 16 hours a day. I'm sure your mother will go visit another time.
She's supposedly coming back down again in August, Joy. Joy of joy.
Do you get roped into visits while you're there?
I did. I had to bring the kids to the beach with her. She had to go to the beach. Had to. Like the kids are like, it's hot. You know what I mean? Because past May, we're like, we can wait to go to the beach till September. But she was gung-ho about going to the beach, so we went to the beach. And she wants to be there all day long, and the kids are kind of done after a couple hours, you know, and so then she stayed the night over here and then left at 10 a.m. so that she could make it back to Port St. Lucie to go jet skiing at noon.
All right, it's getting late for me. I either got to eat something
Yeah,
or
we got to eat. All right, let's get off the Zoom, and we can always do this another time.
Yeah, all the time.
I love you all. Thank you for
This is
coming.
good. Love you, Christina.
Love you.
Love to all the kids and John.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.